Hi students, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to talk about what is the inkjet printers. So as for the last videos, actually we explained about the dot printers. So dot printers is part of the impact printers. Okay, and then we also talk about the pros and also the cons, the drawbacks of the dot printers. Okay, and we also learn about the internal parts of the dot printers. So basically, in dot printers, we are using the platens, okay, to support the paper, and when the print heads contains the pins, and then you will strike onto the ribbons, and then will create images onto the papers. But for inkjet printers, it's totally different thing. Okay, the way of printing actually is different at all. And inkjet printers is usually spreading the ink, okay, on the dotless, the fine dotless, okay, and we so called as the formulated dotless onto the papers to produce the images. Okay, so and the printhead do not contacted or do not physically strike onto the papers. Okay, so basically meaning that the printhead is actually do not contacted with the paper at all. So that's why I call it inkjet printers. So inkjet printers is a type of computer printing devices that connected to the computers, and then by create a digital image by propelling droplets. Okay, so fine droplets and also propelling droplets on of ink, okay, onto the papers. Okay, it's by spreading the ink. Propelling droplets ink onto the papers to form images, to form readable forms of text. And then use a type of ink dispersion printing. So they does not provide high quality resolutions of the laser printer. Why? Because if you are using the microscope to see on the output of the printer, the printout, then you'll find that the ink is actually like like dotlet, okay, onto the paper. So the DPI is not as high quality as the laser printers. Later we will explain about the laser printers. So for ink printers, the print head is like our automatic printers. So the print head will go left or right. Okay, it's just that it do not strike ink, it do not strike the pins. Uh, Instead, it's actually spreading the ink, okay, proper droplet onto the papers to form images. Okay, so one line of the text is created, or one line of the images will be created, okay, with each passes. So sometimes it will pass few times on the same spot, okay, to spread different colors of the ink, or even the volume of the ink. Okay, for instance, maybe the green is a little bit green, light green and also the dark green. So for the light greens, maybe it will passes like one or two times, and for the darker green, maybe he will passes like more than two times. Um, so it depends on the complexity of the images and also the text. So the ink is applied to the paper using the matrix of small dots. Okay, it's even finer than the pins, okay, of the dot matrix printers. So the ink is a very fine, very micro type of the dotless onto the paper. So multiple of these micro dotless, then it will produce the readable images or even text. So different type of inkjet printers are from dollars of ink in different ways. Of course, in inkjet printers we have two kinds. Okay, so first one is called bubble jet printers. So bubble jet printers they uses a print tubes. Okay, if the inks have a tiny resistor, so every exit of the nozzle we so called as the print. The nozzle. Okay, the nozzle. That it will fire droplets onto the papers. Okay, how they fire? It's actually you have a resistor. So the resistor, when tiny charge sent to the resistor will be heat up. Okay, after you heat up, then you create a bubbles because it's heat up, so you create a bubble. So when a bubbles pops, okay, and then it will force the ink, the droplet, okay, the proper droplet, the fine droplet, the micro droplet, release from the nozzle, okay, and then it will shoot on the papers. Okay, so the resistor will be heat up and cause the ink to boil. So when the boil, then create the bubbles. So after they create a bubble, tiny air bubbles of the ionized ink will be ejected when it pops, okay, onto the papers. And another types of the ink printers is the plates that carrying the magnetic charge direct the path of the ink onto the papers to form shapes. Okay, so it's something like they will continuously fire a droplet. Okay, fire the droplets. Okay, so and then after they fired already, then they will apply the magnetic charge onto each of the ink. Okay, so some of the ink that do not apply charge will be returned. Okay, will be returned back to the reservoir. Okay, so meaning they will fire it first and then they will return back the ink that's not supposed to fire on the paper, then you collect it back. Okay, so there's another type of the ink printers. So it's also meaning that we have the dot on demand. So dot on demand meaning when I need it to be, I mean the dollar onto the papers, then I will boil it. Okay, so when it pop, then you will fire it onto the papers. Another type is I fire it first, okay, and then only I collect it back. Okay, I fired first, only I collect back. Unnecessary to, I fired all the droplet and then some of the droplet meant to, shoot on the papers, then I let it shoot. But some of the droplets that do not supposed to shoot on the papers, then I will collect it back. That is what I call the CIJ. So CIJ is used the full name is called continuous inkjet. So it's actually a high pressure pump direct the ink, a liquid ink from a reservoir and through a gun body, and then it will fire all the droplets microscopic nose from the microscopic noses. So meaning that our noses, okay, something like a gun, a gun exit is very fine. Okay, they can fire a micro droplets. Okay, and then you create a continuous stream of the ink droplets. And when they fire them, then after that they'll apply charge, okay, onto the unnecessary droplets. Okay, so the necessary droplets then it will not have a charge. So it will shoot onto the papers, and unnecessary one that have a magnetic charge, then they will collect it back. Okay, so that's what I call the CIJ. So CIJ usually will create a lot of waste ink, okay, because they fire first and then only they collect back. So in the process of fire, collect, then it will cause a lot of waste ink. So meaning the ink is not supposed to fire on the paper and the ink cannot be returned back, cannot successfully return back to the reservoir. So that's what we call the waste ink. Okay. Another type of the printers, okay, something like a bubble jet. So bubble jet is a categories of the draw on demand. So draw on demand meaning when I need it to fire onto the papers, then only I create the bubbles, I create the heat, and then it pops. Then it means to fire onto the paper. So when I do not need the droplets to fire on the paper, so I do not heat up the resistor. So therefore, they will not create bubbles, and they will not apply onto the paper. So it's something like Astro on demand. When I need it, then I subscribe. If I don't need it, then I will just leave it. Then I do not need to waste money. I do not need to do anything. So that's what I call drop on demand. When I need, then only when there's demand, then only I create, only I fire it. So when there is no demand, then I do not need to fire it. So for drop on demand, just now I already introduced one of the technologies called bubble jet. So bubble jet is actually referring to the thermal DOD. Okay, thermal DOD. So it's by heat up the resistor to create bubbles, right? So that's why there's a thermal DOD. Another type is called piezoelectric. So piezoelectrics is also built on demand, but it's not using thermals to heat up the resistor. Instead, they are using a piece of plate, is something we call crystal, piezo crystal, and a piezo crystal will vibrate. As they vibrate, when I need the droplets to fire on the papers, then I would send a tiny charge to the piezo crystal, and they will vibrate. When they vibrate, then the ink will release from the microscopic nozzles, and to fire onto the papers. So it's also another type of draw on demand. So CIJ is no longer in the market nowadays. It's only draw on demands, okay, thermal or piezoelectrics. So different vendors, different manufacturers of the ink printers will have different technologies, okay, draw on demand technologies. So first we talk about thermal DOD first. So thermal DOD technologies is mainly used in Canon and also HP. So or we commonly okay, we refer to the bubble jet. That's why I said bubble jet is one of the type under the on demand, okay, by thermals, and then they will create bubbles and fire onto the top, onto the papers. So it's also referring to the bubble jet. So bubble jet is under the Canon series. So a typical bubble jet, they will have a print head. The nozzle, I mean, we're talking about the print head. Okay, under the print head, inside the print head, there are a lot of nozzles. The nozzle is a microscopic fire exit. Okay, so they will have 300 or 600 of nozzle, microscopic nozzle, very very fine, very very small, per print head. Okay, so a print head will have 300 to 600 microscopic nozzles, and all of them actually can fire a droplet simultaneously. When I need them to fire, then they'll fire it. When I don't need them, okay, we can control okay how many nozzle need to fire, how many nozzle no need to fire. We can control all. They can fire simultaneously at the same time. So this is how the thermals works. I mean the resistor works. So every nozzles, we so called as the gun exit, like the nozzle exit. Behind it, there will have a resistor. So when I need this nozzle to fire, So I will send a tiny charge to a resistor, and the resistor will get heat up. So when they heat up, then they will boil it, and then then they will expand. The bubble will be expanded. Okay, so as the tiny resistor create heat, and then the heat vaporize the ink, and then you will create bubbles. Heat up already, they create bubbles. As the bubble expand, become bigger and bigger, and it will when it pops, actually it will push the ink release from the gun exit. Okay, so when the bubble pops, a vacuum is created, and it will fire, and then at the same time, because there is the vacuums over here, so it also will refill the ink from reservoirs to fill up. Okay, so to prepare for the next fire. Okay, so and pull more ink from the cartridge, okay, to the printhead. This is how the thermal DOD works. So another types is called piezoelectric. So piezoelectric, so these are the piezo. Okay, so when there is tiny charge applied, and this piezo will begins to vibrate. Okay, when it vibrates, then you release the power. It will release the ink. Okay, then you release the ink. Okay, so as you see, these are the piezo elements. So each of the nozzle, same thing. We have a lot of nozzles per printhead, and then every nozzles, okay, every fire exit will have instead of they have the resistor for the thermals, and this one piezo, you have the piezo element, or we so called as the piezo crystal. And when the tiny charge is applied, then this one will vibrate, and as we vibrate, then it will expand behind, and then it will it will push. So this one, it will push like left and right. So as we go left and right, and then the ink actually will be fire out. So as for the ink is fire out, okay, then you will print onto the paper. So if I need it to print again, then I apply the tiny charge again, then it also will be deformations, and then also you will fire out. Okay, so this is how we control the ink. Okay, in order for these to vibrate, so we might need to have a longer piezo element or piezo crystal. And as the piezo crystal or elements is getting longer, and you also sometimes very difficult to control the time, so it will make the printing, the fire the droplet become slow. Okay, in the other way around, okay, so if you're using the thermal DOD, and it will be faster. Okay, so it depends, actually. It depends on whether is it a problems. It depends on the requirements of the for the customer or the clients when they purchase the printer, whether the piezo, okay, or the thermal. Okay, so they need to concern whether it's the piezo or thermal. So if thermal, then you go for HP or Canons. If you are using the piezo, then you need to go for the absence. So because piezo is actually patterned by the absence. So for piezoelectrics, sorry, actually the piezo is actually faster, okay, faster than the resistor, okay, but piezo will have a lot of problems when because they are vibrating. So when they're vibrating, they create a lot of vibrations. So when they create vibrations, then the printers will have, sooner or later, the printer will have problems. Okay, in the other way around, the so-called as the thermal DODs, they do not create such vibrations. Okay, so there has the pros and cons. So it depends on whether you want to go for the piezoelectrics or you want to go for the thermal DOD. Okay, so the piezo, the technology uses the piezo crystal. This one is the piezo crystal. This one is the piezo crystal or piezo element. So the piezo will, which is located at the back of the nozzle. Every nozzle will have the piezo, and they actually occupy some spaces lah. Okay, so that's why the print head of the Epson printer is quite big, because the piezo crystal, it will occupy some spaces there. So each nozzle will have a piezo crystal. So imagine, so if you have 300 tiny nozzles, then you have 300 piezo behind. So it will occupy spaces. So the crystals or the piezo elements will receive the tiny charge, and when they receive the tiny charge, then they will perform a deformations, meaning they will vibrate. And when they vibrate, then it actually pull ink out. They fire the ink, and at the same time you pull the ink in. Okay, so it will pull the ink from the ink reservoirs. Okay, so this is what I call the piezo. So for inkjet printers, usually it includes one or more cartridges to hold different colors. For instance, if you are using thermal DOD, usually you have two cartridges. Okay, one cartridge is black colors, another cartridge contains three colors, we so called as trio colors. So we have the CMY. Okay, as for the black is individuals. Okay, and then the CMY is in one set, and then the black colors is in one set. But however, if you are using the piezo DOD, then it was separated. The cartridge was separated into four, okay, different cartridges. Okay, so we have C cyan, okay, one cartridge. magenta one cartridge, yellow one cartridge, and black will be one cartridge. Okay, so it depends. So stepper motors will move the print head and also the ink cartridge across the paper using the carriage and also the belt to move the assembly and also stabilizer bar. Okay, so same thing in the inkjet printers, you also have the stepper motors, and the stepper motors is also controlling the print heads to move across left, right as they are printing, and at the same time, it also will control the stabilizer bar. Okay, it also will control the sorry, the how to say, the stepper motor actually control the belts, and the belts is actually attached on your print head cartridge holders, and then the cartridge holders will go left and right. Okay, and at the same time, the so-called as the stepper motors is also controlling your paper rollers as they feed in the papers. Okay, while it's printing. Okay, as again, some of the printer will have more than one stepper motors to control different thing at the same time. Okay. Some inkjet printers will offer duplex printing. So what means by duplex printing? Duplex printing meaning you can print in the front page, and then after that they also can reverse and print on the back page. So meaning you can save papers instead of each. I mean, papers can print one pages. Now you can print both sides of the papers. That is what I call a duplex printing. Okay. So but we need to be sure that to use the heavy printer so that the ink doesn't bleed. Why? Because if you print one side and then it become wet already, then because it's too fine, so when you print on the behind, then the paper doubles the wet, right? So it will become very soft. Okay, so we need to make sure that we use the heavy papers. Okay, and inkjet printers buying advice is we need to look for the printers that use 2 or 4 separate cartridges. So it depends. For instance, if you are using the thermal DOD, so thermal DOD, as I said, 3 colors in one cartridge. So if cyan, okay, finish already, then how about the magenta and also the yellows? Alright, so meaning that it's not balanced already. So because of the cyan, okay, blue colors finished already, then we need to change. And but at the same time, the cartridge, actually the magenta, which is red, and also the yellows, still contains some volumes, okay, of the ink. But no choice, we need to change because of the cyan, the blue colors. Okay, in the other way around, okay, if you are using the piezo, then it will be different. Why? Because each colors is separated in each cartridge, right? Okay, so it depends on whether you want to look for 2 cartridges or 4 cartridges. But some people they like Canon colors or HP colors because they are more vivid or more vibrant. Um, as for the absence, maybe the colors is not that vibrant. Okay, so this is also one of the considerations. Okay. And as for the inkjet printer paper size, inkjet printers will have a lot of sizes. Okay, we have the A4 size of the inkjet printers. So A4 size is a common printers. And at the same time, you also can find we have the A3 size of the inkjet printers. Okay, slightly larger, expensive. And at the same time, we also have the largest, which is the A0 size of the inkjet printers. So imagine this is your A4 papers. Okay, of course, as a standard, we also have A standard, we have B standard, and C standard. But in Malaysia, usually we use most is the A standard. So A standard, half of the A standard, there will be A5. So if let's say A5, so we also have the A3. So A3 meaning 2A4, then you'll become A3, and 2A3, then you'll become A2. So and 2A2, and it will become A1, and 2A1, that will become AO. So AO papers is not like per piece per piece. AO paper is referring to a drum papers, a very big size of the drum papers. For AO printers, it's very huge. Okay, and after you're printing already, it prints already, then you need to cut by using the blades. Okay, so we have A4, we have the A3, and also we have the AO. And the smallest one, we also have A5 printers. Okay, small one. Usually for us to print photos, like passport photos or smaller size photos. Okay, but for office use, usually we will go for A4 and onwards. So ink cartridge is used to produce the image on the papers. Okay, so ink is liquid base, and the color codes for printers is all the same. It's CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and key plates. It also can be referring to blue, red, yellow, and also black. Okay, so these are the things. Of course, some of the printers maybe they can have more than 4 colors. For instance, they can have 2 yellow colors, 2 blue colors, or 2 red colors, or 2 black colors. Okay. This one is what we call the sys tank. So usually this is a cartridge because the cartridge is quite small. So that's why we sometimes will install a sys tank so we can contain more ink. Okay, so we do not need to refill ink quite often. And if running out of ink, then actually we can just refill into this sys tank, and you have a pipe to continuous providing the ink for the print heads. Okay, for the so-called as the cartridge. Okay, so ink cartridge price sometimes is more expensive than the printers. For instance, if you purchase a printer, okay, roughly will cost you about the basic printers, entry level printers, usually will cost you about hundreds around there, okay, more or less. And the cartridge itself, okay, for black colors, it will cost you about 80 ringgit, and the colors it will cost you about 130. So you see, cartridge itself actually sometimes is more expensive than the printers. So many consumer will use the compatible ink since it's very expensive the cartridge, so they will buy the compatible ink. So compatible ink cartridges are from vendors other than the printer manufacturers to save cost. But you need to risk on your own. Why? Because if you change to third-party ink cartridge, so if the ink quality is not good and it will causes your printer problems, and then you have a difficulty on to claim warranties. Okay, so this one is risk on your own, risk on your own. So, or they might modify the ink cartridge like this one. Okay, so because of the ink cartridge is too little, okay, I mean the volume, so they modify it, so they put the pipe in, and then so they can continuously flow the ink into the cartridge, so they do not need to change cartridge so often. So for this kind of cartridge is actually came from thermal DOD, and for this kind of the cartridge is actually piezoelectrics. Okay, so for thermal DODs, usually how they modify it, they will drill holes and then they will put the pipe in, and the pipe will lead them to the we so called as the system. Okay, so it's cheaper lah, rather than buy new cartridges lah. Sometimes they even change new printers instead of buying new cartridges because the printer sometimes is much more cheaper than the cartridge. So how expensive the ink? Okay, so imagine, okay, so if you are using the continuous ink cartridge price, meaning you can refill. So one bottles, okay, if let's say it's 1 liter, okay, roughly like depends on the quality, it's 80 ringgit. Okay, so if 1 liters, meaning is 1000 ml, so 1 ml usually will cost you 0.08 cents. So in order to print a full page, we need 0.8 ml. Okay, so therefore you can print 1250 colors page. Okay, so this was the continuous, and if you are using the original ink cartridge price, then actually you cannot refill ink. You need to change the whole cartridge. And for information, this one is the thermal DOD. Okay, HP and also Canon. The cartridge looks like this. So this one is containing the black colors. Both is black colors. So another one is trio colors. Okay, so this one is 3-in-1, this one is black, for instance. If you are using the piezoelectrics, then it's separated into different cartridge, different colors. Okay, for instance, blue. Okay, we have the dark blues and also the light blue. Okay, red colors also got two different red colors. Yellow colors and also the black colors. This one is the original one. Cyan, yellows, magenta, and also key plate. So you see each one of them holding one cartridge. So if this one are running out of ink, then you can replace the ink cartridge for yellow colors. But if you are using the thermal DOD, then you need to change the colors cartridge, so which is not really worth it, and it's very expensive. It cost you, if colors, it cost you about 100 to 120s, and then if black colors, it cost you about like 80 ringgits or 90 ringgits. Okay, so if you calculate the ink cartridge with the the liquid ink and also the cartridge, the casing, then if you separate it out, then 10 ml so it's usually will cost you about 80 ringgit. So 1 ml is about 8 ringgit. Okay, so full color page is 0.8, assume, and then you only can print 12.5 page. So you see, if you compare with this one can print 1250, and this one is you only can print like 12.5 page. Okay, so of course nowadays it will not have 10 mls, probably more than that. Okay, maybe you can find like maybe like 30 mls or 50 mls, but yet if you compare, if you divide it out, this one maybe you just can increase like 3 times or 4 times, like it will come up to maybe like 50 page or 60 page. If you compare with thousands 250 pages, yet the continuous cartridge price it's much more cheaper, okay, than the original. So that is the reason why people will choose the third party cartridge, okay, rather than the original ink cartridge because they are very expensive. But as I said, there is the pros and cons. Why? Because different cartridge, I mean third party cartridge, the ink, the quality is different. So if the quality of the ink causes your printer problems, you have a difficulty on, on the warranties, to claim warranties. So after we talk about the ink cartridge, the next we talk about the paper of the ink printers. So there are two main factors that affect the image quality. First is the brightness. So the brightness paper is normally determined by how rough is the surface of the paper. So make image on the paper brighter, such as a magazine, so more vivid, more vibrant. Another one is the absorptions, because if the paper do not absorb ink, then you will make your your paper do not absorb ink and then you will get feather. Feather meaning it will spread out more irregularly. And if it absorb too much also it will spread out more irregularly. So absorption paper, when the ink spread onto the paper, the ink should not absorb too much or not too less on the paper. It must be just nice. And the dot, if let's say it's absorbed too much or too little, and then the dot will begin feathers. Okay, so this means that it will spread out irregular and impressions to cover slightly larger area than expected. Then you might have like shadows. Okay, so not accurate lah, meaning that the images you will have like shadows and so on. Okay, so these are the inkjet papers. Okay, we so called as inkjet printer photo papers. So this one is the brightness is brighter and it's gloss. Gloss meaning it will be like it's bright lah. Okay, the finishing is bright. So when you print something on it, then it will be more vibrant. The color will be more vibrant. So photo paper is designed specially to reproduce of the photograph. Okay, like pictures, photograph and so on. So it will have a special coated with highly absorbent material so that it will limit the diffusions to prevent ink spread. They can lock your ink, okay, and so that your ink will not spread too much. So the ink photo papers are commonly referring to glossy. Glossy meaning it's reflected. Okay, you will have a reflection. A paper which designed to make print more vibrant and more sharp and more vivid. Okay, so after we talk about the papers, and next we'll talk about the inkjet printer speed. So speed speed to measure for the inkjet printers is ppm. ppm stands for page per minute. So ppm is the measurements for determining how fast the printer are capable of printing. Usually for normal printers, they can print like 20 or 30 pages per minute. Depends on the quality. If you high quality, then maybe you will drop to 12 page per minute. Okay, meaning per minute you only can print to 12 up to 12 pages. So if for draft modes, then they can print like 20 or 30, depends on the printers. If you compare with laser printer, of course laser printer can print more than that. Okay, but if you compare the colors, definitely the e-printers is better than laser. Okay, although the dot per inch, the quality, the definition is not as high as laser printer, but yet the color is still more vibrant than ink printers. So the lower quality, of course, will be print more faster lah. Okay, if you choose to print draft modes, then you will print 20 or 30 page per minute. If you print high quality, then probably you'll get like 12 or 10 page per minute. So how inkjet printers work? Okay, so this is usually how the inkjet printer works. So this is the inkjet printers. So this one is the belt. So this is a stepper motor. So when stepper motor spin, then actually you will control the belts to move, and then this belt is attached on the carriage. Okay, and this carriage will move left and right. Okay, so the cartridge is installed on the carriage, and then cartridge, and then is attached on the stabilizer bar. Okay, why? Because stabilizer bar, as we said, is the most stable components inside the printer. So you will make sure that your printers, when you print, is precise and controlled. Okay, so these are all rollers, and all these rollers is also controlled by the stepper motors. Perhaps maybe you will control by other stepper motors. So when the stepper motor move, the paper also will move, and the print head also will. Okay, so for inkjet printers, we feed paper from the top, and then as they print, then they will move left and right. Print head will move left and right, and then to create the image, it will produce the image. So usually when we turn on the printers, the computer will send signals to the printer. When you want to print, then when you press on the print button, then the computer will send signals to the printer. And the printer, okay, as we say, we have the printer circuit board. So the printer circuit board will translate the data. Okay, we'll receive the data from the computer and then we'll translate the data, see the printer is online or available to print. Okay, so it will send, okay, through the cables connection, usually will be USB or wireless, we have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and the printer will receive the data from computer. And after they receive, because they need time for the printer circuit boards to translate, to interpret it to become to become the printer language, so they need some space to temporarily store the data, okay, sent from computer. That's what I call memory, and we also can call that as a buffer. So the buffer can complete printing process quickly as it will store the data on the printer. So after they interpreted already, then they can print. Rather than send and print, because maybe they can't even make it to interpret it to become a printer language. Okay, maybe print until half, then it will jam or they will stop. Okay, so the buffer can make sure that the printout can be more fluent, okay, and also more quickly. So larger buffer is needed. Why? Because they can hold complex documents. For normal printers, your buffer, your memories maybe is limited, so you only can print like normal complex, not really complex images. So if you want to print a very complex images or very larger data or larger file size, then probably you need a larger buffer printers. So if the printers is sleeping for some times or idle for some period, so it normally will go through a short clean cycle. So meaning when you start the printer will go left and right to clean the clean head. Okay, and then after that the paper feed motors will be activated, and this will engage the rollers so they will feed in the paper, okay, from the tray, and a small trigger mechanism is there to detect whether the paper is it in position or not. If the the paper tray do not have papers, the sensor will detect, okay, there is out of paper. So when there's out of papers, and they also will show you on the LED lights. Okay, so when you see there is LED light red in colors, it probably is because of the printer is out of paper. So you need to refill the papers. So once the paper is fed into the printers, okay, once you put the papers, the printer head stepper motors, these stepper motors will will activate, and then it will lead your belts to move, and at the same time the paper roller also will move to fit in the paper. Okay, so the multiple dots are made, okay, will be printed onto the papers, and it will spray the CMYK colors. It depends on your printers whether you are using thermal DOD or piezo DOD. It depends. Okay, but both of them actually also will spray the CMYK colors in precise amount. For instance, if it's light green, then maybe they will spread like one or two layers of green colors. So if it's a very dark greens, then perhaps they will come and go for many times, passes like 5 times or 6 times, so that the green colors can be more darker. Okay, so and then the amount, the precise amount of the color ink will make your images become imaginable. And remembers is we so called as the precise color doublet. The doublet, the ink onto the papers to make the image become visible or imaginable. So at the end of each of the complex passes, the paper feeder stepper motors will advance the paper in a fraction of inch so that they can prepare for the next printing. So this process will continue until the page is finally finished printed. So the time it taken to print the page, it varies, okay, from the printers to printers. It will be longer time if let's say you print on the more complexity of the page. Okay, so it will be faster if you print a less complex of the the image of the page. Okay, so it depends what you print. So once the printing is complete, the print head is sparked and the paper fits stepper motor spins the rollers to finish pushing the paper so that you can collect your paper from the output tray. Okay, so this is end of the videos. Okay, so that's it for these videos, and thanks for watching.